All right, so let's check if our first speaker is around. I'm gonna be asking Dr. Oliver to start his video and microphone.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Can you hear me? Yeah, can I be heard? Good
Yeah,
morning.
yeah. Good
Okay,
morning, good morning.
good.
All right. Okay, so since our first speaker is here, let us start the introduction. All right, so this one is the most interesting topics which has a very great effect from this pandemic situation, no? Which is the offboarding talents. So from here, we'll be able to learn and get ideas from our first speaker about the best practices in policy development in such a situation like this. Okay, so for us to introduce our speaker for this day, Dr. Oliver Rickleman, no, is a certified total reward specialist from ASEAN Institute of Total Rewards and recently invested as associate fellow in people management by People Management Association of the Philippines. He was awarded HR Leadership Award in Bangalore, India by Institute of Public Enterprise and Ascent, NGO, in 2013 and was recognized and awarded as one of the 500 global HR minds in Mumbai, India by Times Ascent Incorporated last February 15, 2018. And also, he recently completed an executive education program in INSEAD, France's main campus under scholarship program of Johnson & Johnson Corporate Citizen Trust. He has adequate knowledge in labor policies of China, Hong Kong, Vietnam, Cambodia, and Singapore. Once again, Dr. Oliver Rickleman.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I hope you can hear me well. I'm using a headset kasi. How's the signal there? Can I be heard? Jester, can you hear me well?
Yeah, all clear.
Okay. Well, I do have a presentation, but I'm not certain if I can show that here, or would you like to show it for me? Paano ba yun? Should I present it myself?
Present it yourself and it will work fine.
Okay, sige, sige. All right. I'll just look for wait a minute. It's not showing it. Okay, there. Share screen. There you go. There. So here we are. All right. Elements of offboarding. No, offboarding is commonly known for people or for HR professionals who are doing exits for employees. In the past, we haven't really done and given so much focus on, let's say, 10 years ago, when we see people leaving the organization, we immediately assume that they're leaving because of greener pasture or because of better pay, not realizing that there are also other factors contributing and influence their decision to resign or to be offboarded. Now, resignation is not just all about. Offboarding is not just all about about resignation. It also includes management initiated redundancy, retrenchment, and even termination. So those are management decision, management prerogative to offboard or to let go of people. So who am I? As introduced earlier, I just got my what do you call this CTRS reward from Asia, certificate from Asian Institute of Total Rewards, and was recently awarded actually 2 years ago as one of the 500 global HR minds in Mumbai, India. I just completed an executive education from INSEAD in France under the Johnson and Johnson scholarship program. You can find me on LinkedIn, Facebook and Twitter. Just look for Oliver Rickelman or Oliver.Rickelman. So, as mentioned earlier, what is offboarding? Offboarding is a process that will lead to formal separation between employee and a company. So it may come in a form of resignation, termination, retirement, redundancy, and even retrenchment. So this I got from bamboohr.com. You can check out their website for this. So let's look at the legal side of termination. As indicated, or should be what we call labor code. A very recent amendment on the authorized causes of employment under Article 299 of the Labor Code was released in September 7, 2015. No, this amendment was at the same time was to clarify the amendment of the implementing rules and regulation of the book uh, 6 of the Labor Code of the Philippines. When you look at the Labor Code of the Philippines, it has 7 books. When you look into other organizations or other countries and check their labor policies, we have similarities. The similarity come in just assessment of any cases, may it be in a form of termination, retirement, or resignation, pertaining to the interest or the best interest of the employee, because we as employer, the burden of proof falls on us because we are the employer, di ba? So as Department Order 147-15 expressly provides for the specific standards in applying the when we say just cause, these are the termination causes by grave and serious misconduct. No, but when we talk about authorized causes, these are venues where the management can look into as an option for to either improve the productivity of the organization to achieve its bottom line or to avoid imminent financial loss. So there are two elements of employee offboarding: the technical and the interpersonal. The technical, as mentioned, there's authorized causes, there's the just causes, no, and then in the interpersonal, this is where the human dynamics comes in: interpersonal relationship, biased perception, unfair and unequal or inequality in pay and benefits. So people find that some people finds that um, uh, unfair and biased. But when you look at the perspective of the employer, it has to be discriminating. It has to be discriminative. Why so? Because you have to make the position going up attractive. So when you look into your succession planning, shallow bench. Now, when you say shallow bench, you have few and limited people to promote. So you will only end up getting people from outside and bringing them in. There's nothing wrong with that because we buy fact of so those are the interpersonal reasons. So let's take a look at the 4 types of employee offboarding. There's the retrenchment, redundancy, voluntary resignation, termination. So for start, I'd like to begin with retrenchment. Retrenchment avoid imminent loss, imminent financial loss. More capitalization. We're putting in more working capital in the business, and then not achieving. So it's actually to sustain the operation, to sustain the business. to be more competitive, to be not just competitive, but to be in the business mainly. So when you look into retrenchment, you can consider three waves. The first wave is LIFO, last in, first out. So for countries that practices probation and regularizing the probation employees. Is it unfair? Well, it may be unfair from the but you have to put more value or weight more uh, for the interest of those who are already tenured in your organization. So these are these are tech because they already have their vested interest over. So in terms of same rationality applies when uh, okay, there. Jess, can you see my screen?
Yeah, yeah, please still proceed.
Oh, okay. So the second wave is you offer voluntary retirement. So this is the first in. Why are we looking at the voluntary retirement? Because there's probably a large number of employee retirement program. But then in order for your voluntary retirement program to be attractive, you have to put premium to that. So let's say, for example, 100% premium. So they have 100% already coming from the retirement pay. Then you have a premium pay of another 100. You can now apply your performance evaluation. So you can already look into the performance bank. So over the years, the basic is to look into 3 years. For example, 3 years ago, you have then on the first year, uh, the overall total performance is satisfactory. Then on the second year, unsatisfactory, and then for this year, satisfactory. So when you average that, then the average performance the on the third year to the over the 3 years performance and get the average. And then you start ranking all your employees. And then this is where you look into positions or functional groups that may be essential, extremely important to the organization. And then you can also look into the not so important for the operation or for the operation of the business. So when that happens, in over let's say you operate a hospital, no? The positions that when surges or upsurge comes in terms of your organization, which are the nurses, because you are in operating a hospital. So similar to that, when you operate a manufacturing firm, you look into first thing positions that are regulatory or government mandated. Let's say PME, engineers, and then and so on. So you cannot afford to let go of those employees, even if you look at the average. So when you consider for the large functional groups, that the business can continue without. So that's the third wave. So that's how you handle retrenchment. That's how you, in terms of best practices of board through retrenchment. Now let's say introduction of technology. And when we talk about technology, it's not just about the physical technology in itself, like laptop, computer, and machinery. So it's not just that. It also lining of a certain, so when you apply for ISO. So when that happens, you will more likely arrive to a redundated position. Okay. Now, second to that, reorganization. Reorganization will result to redundancy. Why so? Because the purpose of reorganization is to create an organization by revisiting its functional groups to make the organization profitable. Now, second to that, efficient. Because when you are efficient, you are profitable, correct? You end up with fewer expenses, and then you end up with higher margin in terms of bottom line. So that's redundancy. So when redundancy happens, or when you arrive to a redundancy as a result of your reorganization, you don't look at the PE ranking. You look at the position in itself, because what you are redundant is not the person, not the personality, but the position. For it not being part anymore of the process, correct? Not the person, but the position. To or consider selection criteria using personalities, because it will be unfair, right? It will be unfair. However, you can what do you call this? Make your selection criteria even more extensive by being more compliant to the regulatory requirements of the land. So let's say, for example, you cannot let me use again hospital. No? So let's say, for example, you operate a hospital. You're in the business of hospital care. Well, you cannot operate what do you call this, an X-ray machine without rad tech licensed rad tech. That's what I'm trying to say. So you cannot operate an X-ray machine without a licensed rad tech. So therefore, since that you have an X-ray and you operate a hospital, you cannot let go of your licensed rad tech, but you can reduce the number of the rad tech in order for you to be more efficient, right? So you don't zero it out. So as mentioned on the last bullet, qualification, related training, and culture fit or suitability may be used in order to retain some personalities critical to the efficiency of the organization. So what do we mean by culture fit or suitability test? When you are going to redundate a large functional group, and you will end up with quite a number of redundated employees, and you do not want to lose them because they're performing well, you can apply as part of your criteria for selection: culture fit and suitability fit. Who will be fit to the new position that you have created, right? So you can look into their qualification, and you have redundant HR, and just so happen that some of them are engineering graduates, so that you can look into their qualification. Now, second, related training. Now, let's say, for example, they are not engineering graduates, but you require, as part of the organization, to have a basic qualification for an engineering graduate, then you can look into related trainings. Perhaps some of them, although they're not engineering graduates, have attended Six Sigma or any efficient, even more efficient that they're going to transfer to. Consider is suitability. How ready am I in terms of assuming the new position that I'm going to have after the reorganization. So when we reorganize, so this is where the online assessment tools comes in, or online analytics tool comes in. So just to share with you how you can make your retrenchment and redundancy three-step preparation, or should I say in general, no? This is a general uh, application in coming up with a redundancy program and retrenchment program. First, before the D-Day, we call it the D-Day, when are you going to and the redundancy. So we call it D-Day, like an Independence Day. So prepare for termination notices. You're planning in 2 months' time or in a month's time, then all notices should be prepared already and approved up to the highest person, because the CEO or the COO should know who are they, how many are they going to be retrenched or redundated, and why, the reasons behind it. So you have to prepare the notices in advance. Then complete the prepared offboarding checklist. No? The last pay, advanced 30-day salary, separation pay, other commutation, COE and clearances, and things needed to surrender list. So these are the tools of the trade. Let's say laptop, car, printer, photocopier, and all other things. So third item is that you can start off with a communication deck. Your communication deck should already include an FAQ, frequently asked questions. Why so? Because if you're going to retrench and redundate a group of people, they're not actually listening to you during the communication day. Whatever it is that you're going to tell them or to say to them, they are still managing their emotions. So it's emotion over logic. So when you ask them if they have any questions or if they have understood, the answer will always be yes. So best that when you prepare your communication deck, frequently asked questions should already be included. The more it is, the more FAQs that you have, then the better it is for everybody. So arrange for venue also. Lastly, arrange for a good venue, security and counseling. Now, security, I'm not saying that you should prepare for people to run amok and all that. I don't think as professionals as we are, even emotional outbursts, we will be that irrational. No, I don't think it's something in uniform, or security guards not in uniform for the purpose of them to help and assist. If in case, just in case something happened, someone will be irrational, at least you will not be caught off guard. But as far as I have experienced over the past uh, 23 years of my life in as a professional, and in 19 years of that in human resources, I haven't experienced that yet. But be ready. No, it's always best to be ready. So during the D-Day, during the communication day, ensure security, all notices, receive payments, and retrieve all tools of the trade. Then third, throw off program. Four is you ensure that industrial or psychological counseling is available. So this time around, you can coordinate with what I mean is, even before the D-Day, you have to coordinate with a group of psychologists or counselors that can with numbers readily available to them. Now, over the past years, people are becoming more comfortable to open up over the phone rather than a one-on-one person-to-person discussion. So you have to make that available for them as an option just in case that they need it. So after the D-Day, the communication day, and then you're looking forward into having them as your alumni of the organization, ensure that the employees being off board the option, no, to purchase and to purchase and procure their tools of the trade. Over the years, they have already grown to love their laptop. They have grown to love their car. So instead of selling themselves or to deny, ensure that the deletion of the off-boarded employees are already out of the system, clean up workspaces, and then create an FB page for work alumni circle, then continuous communication. Never let your employees leave the organization without creating a vice. Now you should already have that in mind as your KPI in HR to create an alumni circle, because creating an alumni circle for those off-boarded employees will give you an opportunity in the future should you need employees for certain position. So if I left an organization 5 years ago as a manager, then maybe 5 years from now I can already be a candidate for a director role. I have the experience, I have the organization know-how, and then over the past 5 years I have gained further training. So that will give the organization now a pool of talents, other than having them in a basket for the purpose of keeping everybody in check, but you also have a basket full of future talents. So for voluntary resignation, as I mentioned earlier, 10 years ago, we did not give so much importance on people who are resigning, simply because we always see it as a form of greener pasture and better pay. But more recent, a more recent study shows that reasons for people resigning is not just all about monetary reason, or it's not just all about for monetary reasons, but this includes leadership issues. This includes management issues. This includes culture and organizational environment. So that these reasons add up to the fact that they are also looking for greener pasture. So they try to justify it that way, that, oh, so yeah, I'm going to leave because the organization there is giving me a better pay. But actually, they're leaving the organization for other reasons. It's not just all about pay. So they're just using the pay to justify their mind of a resigning employee. Sometimes the resignation process is not for them to have a change of heart and not to pursue their resignation, but actually for the management to better understand why employees are resigning. Now, when you apply a clearance, let's just say half truth. So always best to apply exit interview process when everything else has already been paid, the last pay, they already have their last check, and you have given them already their COE, and then you conduct exit interview as part of the exit process. So they will be encouraged to tell you the truth and the reasons why they are leaving. and to be more honest with the interview that you termination is different, right? Because it's management discretion. Usually, it's because of disobedience. So, when we look into termination, always observe due process, right? The right to be heard, a notice to explain, then you are already observing due process. Now, when it comes to termination, you have to consider exhausting all options of applying a penalty of 50 of with 10 days. Let's say this offense results to 15 days penalty. So instead of giving the full 15 days, you give 10 days. But letting the employee understand and know that you are doing this out of compassion, even if the person is already exercising willful disobedience. Why so? Well, you will eventually arrive to termination, right? So when you terminate an employee and the employee is objecting to the termination decision of the organization, and will go to the nearest labor office or labor ministry and will always ask questions. Have you, the management, exercised authority? Have you exercised compassion? Have you exercised all options before it arrived to termination? The labor arbiter will decide on the case in your favor. As an organization, we are burdened to provide all facts. We are burdened to provide and exercise compassion, even if the person or the employee is willful disobedient. Willful disobedient. Other than fraud, other than theft, other than anything else, actions that will cause or endanger someone else's life, other than those, or criminal offense or offenses that are criminal in nature, and other than that, you have to establish compassion. So when we apply penalties as per code of business, mercy is not the same as leniency. Okay, you can be lenient, but when we say lenient, you are code of business or code of conduct. You are totally ignoring it. But when you apply notice to explain, you consider not consider but due process, and then you come up with a decision, a merciful decision, then that's mercy. You are not being lenient, but you are being merciful. So just that's what I want to clarify here. Now, do not use penalties to oppress one in order to favor another. Remember, the admin hearing or administrative hearing is not a formal court. Okay, it's not a formal court. So whatever decisions that come up there, when that employee goes to a formal labor court like DOLE or a legal court, you will end up on the losing end. So always decide or base your decision not on the coldness of the policy, but according to fairness, right, and just. So another thing also, communication is very important. It's very important that you come up with communication deck. Prepare your communication deck before the actual need for termination. You have to prepare your communication deck for that. If you're going to terminate someone, even for voluntary resignation, you have to establish communication. conversation, I would like to ever resignation or termination, you have to consider it to be a counseling discussion. Okay, so when you do a counseling discussion, consider these 5 segments. One, opening of the conversation. Second, organize key messages of the subject matter. So always have that in mind when you have your communication deck prepared and approved by the management. And the discussion is with the one-on-one discussion, I mean, or during your town hall discussion is going off topic already. You have to bring back the discussion to the topic that you have prepared for. So always bring back the discussion to the key subject matter. Segment 3, the key messages on the subject had been discussed. Then let the person or the employees speak for their own interest or for their best interest. So even if they are opening up their thoughts, their perceptions and feelings, always remember the segment 2. Bring them back to the themes of the discussion or of the conversation. The segment 4, transition the conversation from loss of employment to opportunities that may be presented when the employment is already terminated. So what are these opportunities? Well, if it's termination, uh, give the assurance to the person being terminated that whatever other than heinous crime or criminal acts, assure that the terminated employee to be given a certificate of employment, that you in HR, you are going to ensure uh, not just by letting go of the person during that date and when you retrench, because all the more that you have to be present, wanted to be redundant, you never wanted to be retrenched, you never want to be in that dilemma. So for that reason, you have to be present with them. All the more that you have to be present. So segment 5, close the discussion by giving assurance of information and venue. So that's what I meant earlier by creating an FB network, alumni network for your organization. In fact, if you can include them in your budget to invite your best talents who resigned, and then invite them in Christmas parties, invite them in your organization celebration, because it's good and it feels good to have your former employees coming back to your organization for the purpose of celebration, right? Especially those who resign, those who you regret resigning. It's nice to have them around and celebrate seasons. So when you do all these things, like what I said earlier, redundancy and retrenchment is something that they never wanted to have in the first place. They do not want to be in that position. They do not want to be in that kind of dilemma. So all the more you in HR, you have to be empathic. You have to be empathetic, simply because it is the cornerstone of every conversation and communication. But just so you know, empathy is not the same as sympathy, because sympathy focuses on your own feelings and your emotion, but empathy is not. It gives focus on someone else's perspective by removing how you feel, right? You're empathizing, you understand the feeling of that person, but without the agitated feeling of being sympathetic, right? So I hope I was able to explain it in a bit. I was able to explain it better. So well, there's two types of empathy, you know, the affective and the cognitive. The affective is when you try to relate to someone's feelings, and you try to feel the person's feelings on a particular dilemma. The cognitive is different. Cognitive empathy is that you're trying to understand, you're trying to give more rational or rationalization to the situation of the person. But you know, when when you talk to employees, especially for redundated employees, retrenched employees, when you gather them in a group or when you talk to them one-on-one, the best is to be effective because we do not want to be in that kind of dilemma. We do not want to be in that kind of situation. It's not the same for voluntary resignation. Resigned out of will, right? To be in that place. They want to be exited. So you can be cognitive, something that although they did not want to happen in the first place, but it's something that happened of what they asked, right? They had some okay, there. Hello, can you hear me? Jess, back. I'll show you again my screen. Hello, Jester. Can you hear me?
Yeah, please continue.
Okay, good, good. So as I was trying to explain earlier, uh, a terminated employee, the termination reaction or an event that happened in the past. So for this reason, you can be cognitive with your empathy with the exiting employee. So this is how you strike a balance how you shift from being affective and cognitive. It's difficult to be cognitive with your empathy to employees who have been retrenched and redundated because redundancy definitely will come to them as a surprise. Retrenchment is something that has been uh, more likely something that has been discussed in the organization, but still this is something that they do not want to happen to them, right? Oh, kasi when you say redundancy is a cause or result of a reorganization, so they it will come to them in a form of a shock. They will never expect that they will be redundated because of a reorganization. A retrenchment, probably they heard about it, but the whole time that they heard it or they're hearing it, they have been praying not to be included. This is where you have to be effective with your empathy. Okay, so uh, always remember that when you develop or when you design your policy on offboarding, your utmost objective is to convert all exiting employees as your brand ambassadors. Okay? That is your ultimate objective. So if you're going to have a policy develop a policy, I mean, if you're going to create a policy for offboarding employees in those four different types, you have to consider that they will be your brand ambassadors in the future because they will always influence the outcome of your hiring. They will always the outcome of your corporate image or even your brand image as employer. So regardless of how they exit, your utmost objective is to convert everyone as your brand ambassadors. So best practices tips for redundant of their tools of the trade that have because this have grown into them. So let them have those. If you can afford to give it to them, just give it to them. If not, then auction it to them, but they get the best price for auction. So second is prepare clearances, COE, everything in advance. If they are retrenched, redundated, then I don't think there's already a need for them to complete their 30 days. advance the 30 days pay, the 30 days notice, and do not require them to something crazy or criminal in the in the working environment, but rather give them the benefit to emotionally heal or heal themselves emotionally, because they are in pain, they are hurting, they feel they've been neglected by the organization. So give them the 30 days to stay home or spend somewhere else. Now, third is to create an FB or LinkedIn group page or Instagram. Now, this is not to add insult to the injury, but the purpose is for them to be in the fold where the organization can tap them anytime, keep them updated, and of course get the feel of how they are as they move forward in another page of their lives. So four is as I mentioned earlier, maybe there may be no need for them to come to work. Then perhaps you can use the next 30 days in coming up with a livelihood program, training program for livelihood interests, or any interest-based training that they may use or may be interested of in joining. So if you are in an organization where you have manufacturing of semiconductors, or you are in the operation of equipment, then maybe you can partner with them. Let's say canteen, maybe vegetables, agricultural products that the company can get from them as another form of supplier that you can bring into your organization, and then they can still be part of that business ecosystem, not just an employee, but this time an employee of someone else that you have partnered with. Now, five is for termination. Here's a tip for termination, regardless of the offense. Always send off the terminated employee in best wishes. The employee, the terminated employee may have stolen, he may have done something like hitting the boss or hitting someone, punching someone in the face that got him terminated, or any of those things. Uh, Always send the person in best wishes. Okay? Remember, our utmost objective here is to turn all exiting employee to be your brand ambassadors. So write a good COE for the person to be employed again in soonest time possible, because the harder for that terminated employee to find a job, the more it's depressing for him. So help the person find a job somewhere else by giving him the right COE. And when I say right COE, meaning it's a helpful COE for him to be employed again by another organization. So that's it for my presentation. Should you have any questions and reactions, you can email me or you can find me on LinkedIn. Please do follow me if you have the time. I'm turning over to you the microphone.
All right, thank you, Dr. Oliver Reculman, for this interesting topic. Now that our viewers find it very interesting. Again,